Perfect. And so again, those of you that are just joining us now here live, welcome to my EdTech Life. And if you don't know who this is, right next to us, this is Jamie Donnelly, who has joined us, and we're talking all about AR, VR in EDU. And so we're starting off this conversation just hearing the stories from a lot of wonderful educators that, you know, we know within the circle of AR, VR, and educators that have been ready for this, or at least were able to connect with their students because they have implemented some sort of AR, VR already while the students were in school. So Jamie, let me ask you something. What is it that you see now or currently during, you know, maybe things that schools could have done a little bit better, or what are some roadblocks that you see as far as AR, VR fully immersing itself in a curriculum at school or to be seen as a viable tool for remote learning? What are some of the obstacles that you see?
You know, a lot of the obstacles is just people not being aware of how easy it is to get started. You know, my heart in doing all of this has always been that anybody and everybody can jump on and start using this. It doesn't take a tech genius. It doesn't take somebody that's super tech savvy. It should be something that we are all able to jump on. As a matter of fact, most of the time, there might be a tool where it's pretty beginner, get started, jump in, but it gives you, you know, tools that maybe are advanced, but you don't have to use those tools, but they're options. And we give those to our kids. Rochelle is a perfect example of this. Rochelle with her students will take these tools and she'll go and share them out with her kids. And she won't give all the answers because she doesn't know all the answers. None of us know all the answers, right? And so the kids will run into obstacles, and it's up to the kids to actually solve those problems. The kids will say, this is what I want to do. And the kids say, well, if I want to do this, I'm going to research, I'm going to figure this out. They support one another, they help one another. And in light of all of that, giving the students the ownership of this technology. This should not be top down. This is a partnership with our kids. You know, they are as much invested into this as our admin, as our teachers are, as we are. Our kids want to see this. They're excited about it. They've been, you know, really desiring to have it out in their class. I can't tell you how many times when I bring this with, you know, other children and students at various places that I go, and I can't tell you how many times they say, we don't have anything like this at our school. You know, there's nothing like this being implemented in our school. And, you know, to me, like, why would they be telling me that? Because they want that at their school. This is something they all desire to have at their school. And there's various forms of using it. You know, I think it's really wise to consider, hey, Renelle, it's really wise to consider the limitations that you might run into with your ages, with what devices you're going to invest into. You know, I have lots of conversations with admin about that because they might say, oh, I want this because it's the big shiny thing and it's been marketed more than anything else. But when you really look at what that is, you're running into all these other obstacles and problems, and your staff and how they implement it, it's, you know, a big headache. So having conversations and really, you know, being active to search it out doesn't mean everything's going to be for everybody, but it does mean that there are so many things out there today available to our kids, some of which are even free, that we really just need to be, you know, trained. We need to know, be aware of the tools. And that comes down to connecting with like people like us, Alfonso, you know, just, or so many other educators that are excited, looking for the hashtag, looking online, looking for the resources. So, you know, all of us are really trying to get the word out there to get people to implement, and it's exciting at whatever level they're using it. Don't be afraid, give it a shot and let your students own it. And I think that will really help solve some of the dilemmas that you think are there, but they're really not.
Right. And I agree with you in that comment. And we see Ronell and we see David, who are great friends also, that joined the ARVR and EDU chat. And so about that chat, real quick, I'll put it there on the screen too. Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. You've got hashtag ARVR and EDU. So you can come and join the chats as well. But going back to what we were talking about, I think, like you said, this is a partnership. And one of the things that I learned, early on in my classroom career is that as a teacher, even though there's an expectation that you need to know everything because you're the teacher, it's something that's really unrealistic, because even as a teacher, or even just as a normal person on a day-to-day, we don't know everything. So sometimes it's just that fear of what we don't know that keeps us from trying out some new tools until later on in my career, before coming to this position, I started just giving the students the little that I knew. And we were doing coding at the time. We weren't even doing AR, VR yet, but we were doing coding and just sharing the little that I knew. And then I would see what the kids would do. I would let them be the problem solvers. I would let them be the ones that take ownership of the learning and be creative. And then I would learn from them. So then when the next period came, then I was that much more of a little bit of an expert. So then we take it up and so on. But it's okay, show that you're vulnerable, that you don't know everything, and just not being that sage on the stage, being with them, coming alongside them in the learning experience really helps out. And I think now, so for teachers as well, as education leaders, tech leaders like yourself, myself, and everybody in the AR, VR, and EDU chat, being able to come alongside with the teachers, sharing these things. And like you mentioned, you don't have to go full on 100%. Find what works for you, use it, leverage it, use it to the max potential. And then once you feel comfortable with that, then say, okay, what other layer can I bring into this to continue introducing this to the students? Because I've had the opportunity to run some STEM camps in the summer, and the kids go nuts when they're holding, a merge cube in front of them. And then all of a sudden they see the solar system, they see, Mars, they get to hold a Mars rover, things of that sort. And along with a lot of other free apps that are available, the kids' eyes light up, so, it's just something that I think as ed tech leaders, we're there for the teachers, and we have to make ourselves available to them to make them feel comfortable with the tech. And I think right now during this time, a lot of what I've seen is a lot of teachers that weren't embracing a lot of the tech have actually, done so well, at least through my experience that I've seen, that have grown exponentially and just feel so comfortable and are taking ownership, that I think that maybe as we come out of this and we start going back to some sense of normalcy, I think the teachers are going to feel a little bit more comfortable exploring. So I think that's something that's great there.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a classroom teacher, I was doing a program called Math Enrichment. So I worked at a private school at the time. Students came through every week. I would see all of like the elementary school kids trying to build a passion for math. A lot of times I did use technology, and thankfully I had an amazing donor that was sponsoring this program, and their goal and all of it was just letting kids love math and it not be a graded, class time, but it really just be a play, exploratory, like just love of math, which I think is really missing in schools in general, because we're just so slammed with, our standardized tests. But I will say, in light of all of that, every summer I was invited to come and do a program, be a part, like one of the teachers as part of their summer program. And in the summer program that they would have kids come through, I'd always do technology. And so the first year I did a tech savvy class, and all the kids that came through, and it was, I think it was like a full, like every class was full. The kids were super excited. We did, basic stuff. I mean, this is 10 years ago. So we were building websites, and we were doing some basic coding. We were doing video. We did did photos and creative videos and such. And the next year we took it to the next level. So that tech savvy class was that introduction, and then tech geeks was the advanced class. And so like every year, my tech geeks were like the gold. They were bringing it. They had music videos that they'd make in 3 weeks. These kids they were creating apps. They were making music videos that we displayed at the end. I mean, they went through some crazy, awesome stuff in 3 weeks, what we can accomplish. And I will tell you that these kids were doing things that I had no idea how to do. And all it was about was just letting them have an opportunity to do it. Like we're not experts at that. That's something that our kids could be experts at. And when you give those kids, they're struggling in content areas, you give them the confidence in something that they are good at, those kids will excel in everything and will help them to get confidence in all subjects. And it could be a future career for them. So it's, I taught also math and RTI. So, response to intervention in math later on. And those kids that all failed the standardized test in math, they all felt inadequate. They were in middle school. They already gave up on themselves. But again, brought in technology and the kids excelled. They owned it. And those kids were just soaring. They had so much confidence. So it's just a matter of, whether it be technology, whether it be whatever those kids are great at. AR, VR is a piece of this, but it's not the only piece of this.
Right.
This is one piece of this, but your kids enough to know what they're going to be into, what they're going to respond to. You ask them to be a part of it. So 100%, I completely agree with that conversation.
Awesome. And we've got a comment here. We've got John Sintamu, who's just very enthused, and he's writing to us from Uganda. So, John, just go to the website, arvredu.com, and Jamie's got some wonderful stuff. And in a little while, she'll go ahead and share her website there on the screen, and then we can go over some of the resources that are available there. And I guess maybe we can kind of transition into that, Jamie, because oftentimes the question that we run into as tech leaders and, wanting to add a couple of more layers into the learning process, the question always comes in the end is cost. How much is this going to cost? How much is that? Right now, these headsets are this much, or these cubes, or this program, so on and so forth. So we talked a little bit about it, but we know that there are some great, phenomenal free resources that are out there available. Can you just tell us a little bit about what is out there? I know we have it on your website. If you want to go ahead and share your screen when you get a chance, and then you can walk us through some of the resources that you have already for teachers. So teachers, this right here, if you're interested in AR, VR, and EDU, this right here would be your go-to place to go ahead and find some goodies here. So Jamie, go ahead and share your screen if you can. Let's see.
Yeah, let me know. How's that looking?
There you go.
Perfect.
All right.
Well, I'll tell you that there are so many free resources out there. A lot of the times you're going to be dealing with products also that are freemium. You get to explore in the free version of it. And then you pay for the additional parts of it that might be a lot more work on the company's side to maintain and storage and student privacy and lots of those things that you're kind of dealing with outside of just being a consumer tool. And so, you take that into consideration, but more so than anything else, Alfonso, I'll say people should really talk about what their goal is. If their goal is, to code and learning about coding, but they have no budget, then there's resources out there. If their goal is to code and they really want to implement AR, VR as well in this, amazing maker space that they have, and they have this amazing grant and they have the funds to bring in some cool tools. And I would say, Renelle's on here. Hey, go talk to Kai's Clan. They are incredible. And so, if your goal is to keep it simple and something that helps with quick transitions, you might bring in some merge cubes and have some things going there. If your goal is to actually have them creating content, and you might have some budgeted money, or you may not have any money at all. You might say, hey, let's build in the merge cube, or hey, we have some budgeted money for these subscriptions. Let's go over to CoSpaces. So as they're looking at the various products that are out there, I will just, I'll tell you from experience, you don't want to go out and just buy the shiny thing. You want to know, what is this intended for? What is the purpose of this? How can I use this? Are we going to accomplish our goal? Are we helping to support our students that are struggling? Are we helping to support our kids that are excelling, that might need the extra challenge? So you really need to identify what your goal is at the end of the day. And then you find the tools. So there are so many tools. This is just something that was written last month. So I did a crazy month in March of 31 days of AR, VR, and EDU. And every day, a new blog, a new product, new content is out there, and basically just showed you the ins and outs of it. How to use it, what you can do with it, and how to make something like this work in your classroom. Some of the links to download the apps or go get the resources. All of that is really just introduced to you. So there's just a ton of content out there for you to jump into. It was just a crazy month. That's all I can say. Just nonstop. But at the end of the day, lots of content. Now, I didn't just do this year. I don't know if you knew this, Alfonso, but I actually did the 31 days starting in 2019. So I still have content on here that, of course, gets posted all year. But then when you go into last year, I also have lots of content out there. If you're looking into, these different options, there may be a few that got repeated because they had major updates that came. So the goal was to give some of those latest updates that came out. But you can see pretty much these are all new tools. I didn't really go into repeating a whole bunch. But really just giving people a chance to explore and see what's out there. So lots and lots and lots of stuff. Of course, lots of different content that comes out there. But in the blog, you click on any of them, you get, some insight. I will tell you this 31 days of AR, VR, and EDU recap will hopefully help support you because, it took all of that and basically gave you kind of a graphic to work with. And this graphic might have shown you a couple of those pieces, like, I don't know, look at here, Kai's Clan, right? So wow. Perfect timing for that. But if you're interested in going into Kai's Clan, then you can click in there and then it will pull you right to that blog. And inside of that blog, you can go in and learn about it. Of course, David Lockett, who just happens to be in the chat right now, which is pretty cool. He's obviously linked in here to get connected with him and learn with him and his students and how they used it, and then look at some of the videos and pictures and how to use it, the ins and outs. I really just kind of cover. This was one of my very favorite parts about Kai's Clan is using the cards, because I don't know a lick about coding. Everything's play for me. So being able to look at that and actually pull things in and know exactly what to use to accomplish certain tasks actually helped me make the connection much quicker than just trying to play on my own. So I love those cards. So yeah, that's it. And there's a lot that you can do on there. I'll go ahead and stop sharing now. But those are my blogs. There's other, pieces of content in there. I have some video content in there as well. I hope one day Alfonso will write me a blog that I can post on there as well. And one of these days, and just really just get everybody's voices in there too, because we're all learning from each other. There's no one person that does it all. All of us have kind of learned from one person or another person. They came in and did the chat on Wednesday night, and we learned from them. Alfonso has moderated the chat a few different times willingly. I did not pressure him into that one. He did it willingly. But, it was just really great because you hear all the different voices and the perspectives, because my perspective is limited. I'm not in a classroom with students. So I depend on connecting with people like, Rochelle, who's in the classroom, and David, who's using it in a directly with his students, or, even talking to people in my local district and how they're using it with the students. So there's, we all learn from one another for sure. So cool to see everybody in the chat.
Yeah, I know. Awesome. So now talking about chats, Jamie, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about I say our because we're a tight group. We're a nice community. And whenever we get a chance to get together, whether TCA or other conferences, it's always great to just work with one another and just help each other out. And really, it is a community to help build each other up and learn resources. And then that way we can bring them back to our districts and we can share it with our teachers and our staff as well. But, when you first started this chat, give us a little glimpse of where you thought or the direction that you wanted this chat to go. What was the goal in holding this chat?
Yeah. Started in 2016, believe it or not. And I held off and wanted to start in 2015, but held off for a year because I knew what kind of commitment it was. And boy, was I underestimating the commitment. It is a massive commitment to meet every week. And there are times that, things don't work out, or, you run into like last month where we have blogs going out. So there's plenty of content out there going. This past week, actually, we didn't do it because I did a webinar that actually showcased some things. I was hoping people would join in and participate, and it was wonderful, really great to see everybody joining in. And I'll talk a little bit about that too, because there's some good stuff in Mozilla Hubs. But I'll tell you that, the weekly meetings, though, help us all stay connected because we are busy. It's 30 minutes. When we first started, it was an hour. And it took me, I don't know, a good year to figure out, like, hey, this is not going to work. Like, it's just too long and we're exhausted. Let's just move this down to 30 minutes. But oftentimes, we're still connecting after that 30 minutes. But it is done, and we can then move on with our evening and still learn and grow with other people. But we have people, especially as of late, I don't know why. I'd be interested to hear why, but I have a lot of teachers in training. So people that are at a university or a college, and right now they're working on their certification program. And so they've been joining in and wanting to learn, and they haven't even gotten into the classroom yet. I'm loving that. I do know quite a few people that do work with, upcoming teachers. So I hope that they are the ones that are really, hoping to support those people. But what a crazy thing, because when you're first getting started as a teacher, that's like, I wasn't thinking about that I wasn't thinking about technology at all. I was thinking, will I have my stuff on the walls? Will I know my content? You're just kind of looking at the bigger picture. But, nowadays technology is a major piece of what we do in the classroom. So it's great to see that. But yeah, if you join in our chat, it is welcome. People join in and they've done nothing, and that's okay. But it is a very different chat for this reason. It is a hands-on chat. It is like getting a little mini PD. You're not just going to talk. You're not just going to, okay, this is great. Alfonso is classic for this. I'll put something out there, a brand new tool that he's not even seen, right? 5 minutes later, the guy has downloaded the app. He has already taken a recording of it, like added an intro video and exit video. And it's like, and it's done, and he's posting it on Twitter. And we're like, did you read my mind? How did you even know we were going to cover this app tonight? I mean, it is crazy. So it's just a really innovative group, but anybody from anywhere, from Uganda to the US, can join in. And you can sit back and you can listen, you can watch, you can read later, or you can participate in the chat and ask questions and get connected. It is a really great group because nobody's really like, oh, you don't know that? I feel like it's a super inviting group.
Yes.
Everybody's willing to help and share. And that, to me, is the best kind of community you want to be connected to. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, it has. And guys, seriously, with these chats, it really is hands-on. I think one of the last chats that's memorable to me also was one of the most recent ones we had, where we did a scavenger hunt. Believe it or not, every single one of us was in our own home or wherever our location was. We've got this great app, and that Jamie shared. It's like, hey, we're going to do a scavenger hunt. We're like, what? So it's great. I mean, we're walking around our homes, finding artifacts and completing certain tasks. And then, for us as educators, we may think like, but I was thinking, I was like, wow, and a lot of the people that we have here are educators that are like, hey, I can see the implications here, bringing this into the classroom and creating just a kinesthetic learning. You're learning, you're moving from station to station, you find this, then you move on to that, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like a thinking hub here where you just come together, you share ideas. And then I love the questions that we have, because it always leads back to the students. How would this help the students? How can students use this, for learning, future of work, as they continue to move up from grade levels? Is it cross-curricular? Does it translate well from one subject to another, from one grade to the next? And then you've got so many people in the community just chiming in that it just, before you know it, you already have in your mind lesson plans, and you already have how can you embed this into curriculum, and it's really exciting. And going back to what you were saying, that there are some students that, university students that join the chat because it's part of their class. When I was going through my master's program, one of the things was that I always introduced AR, VR, and Masters in Educational Technology. And in a lot of the projects that I would post on, discussion questions, things of that sort, I definitely always included a lot of AR, VR. And so they knew me as the AR, VR guy, because I was all continually just sharing my Wakelet with them as far as things that we're doing. And, and it's interesting because you can tie in the multimedia principles that we learn in educational technology to these apps, going to, user experience. And then you can say, oh, well, here's some things that work, here's some things that don't. And I think also one of the great things that I don't think I've ever told Jamie, but is that a lot of times the app creators are there within the chat because they get feedback, and they are wonderful at hearing us out and really allowing us to have a voice in what their product, may have, or what it may need, how to improve it, and they listen. And that's amazing how a lot of companies today are willing to listen to meet the needs of the educator, because they know ultimately at the end, this may end up in the hands of students, and we want to make sure that we give students the best. So it definitely is a great chat, guys. Definitely recommend it.
Well, speaking of the chat, but I do just want to hone in on, interest of the companies. I don't know if you could still see my face. I'm assuming so, even though I'm screen sharing. But, I will say that the companies that I talk to, this is unlike Google and Apple and, the big wigs. Maybe you'll never hear from some of those big companies that you use in your classroom. But I love AR, VR for this reason. These are all startups. These are all beta testing. This is just brand new for everybody. And so everybody wants input, and your voice matters. Your voice can be implemented into what these products are out there going out to the classroom. So I just love the fact that AR, VR is different in that way, that it is really connecting with companies and giving, ideas, inspiration, and giving our students a chance to explore and give feedback. So there's some great stuff. Now, speaking of the chat, you can see here, this was one of the blogs that I went in, and literally from every single week of the chat from 2019, I'll do this again for 2020, but we'll recap the whole year, and it will just, one tweet from every one of our chats that we had just highlighted. So here we're using the looking glass, and the next week we were talking about goosebumps and doing VR and be afraid, be very afraid. And then we went into, using AR, VR. Gabriel Baker came in and talked about Frame that he's been working on and has now been since released. And we went in and used apps like 3D Bear and using Thing and Devar, and looking at Merge and seeing the new things that they were releasing. So every week you're kind of seeing some of the content that's going out there. And then you can go into that and learn a little bit more, but you also have the tag for the community or the company to go and check them out. So you're getting a little bit of insight as to, what is Pose Emoji? And then so you can go in and you can see that there is some AR layered on top. And then you can go in and say, oh, that's really interesting because I can use that in sports, and I can show them how one arm is higher than the other because it's picking up where the hands are. It's using some cool technology too. So anyways, this is a literal spotlight of every single chat from 2019. And I did do this, by the way, I also did this for 2018. So at the beginning of the year, the very first blog that went out was a recap of 2018 different chats. So while I'm compiling stuff for 31 days of AR, VR, and EDU as far as each tool each day, there's also a ton of tools being shared out in the AR, VR, and EDU chat every single week. And that is a recap of that too, to support you. Hopefully you guys find something there.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It definitely is a great resource for teachers. And like you said, and like we mentioned, for anybody that is curious anybody that is new or you've never even heard of it or you're just hearing about it, Jamie's website has some wonderful, wonderful resources that are available. A lot of them are free. And even just watching the Twitter chat, just to see some of those highlights can give you an idea, like she was stating, what you can use it for. Because immediately as teachers, we always kind of see things and we say, okay, how can I implement that in the classroom? So even just to have just a little snapshot of that chat and what the app does can kind of, pique your curiosity, or it can already start, getting the wheels in your brain turning to see what it is that you can do. So Jamie, tell us a little bit too. If you don't know, Jamie is also an author. So I wanted to share this right here, Learning Transported. And this book is the one that started me off on my ARVR journey. And of course, I got it signed by Jamie. So I was so excited when I got it signed by her at TCA. And she's always been very supportive and, very humble. And I mean, she'll stop and talk to anybody and, answer anybody's questions. And that's wonderful. But Jamie, tell us a little bit about your book. How did you get inspired? What was the goal? And tell us about any new projects that you may be working on.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that out. Surprisingly, the book, I remember when I wrote it, I was like, this will be outdated next month. Like all these tools are going to change. Tools are not the important part. It's really like, what do the tools do? So it's the technology capabilities that I wanted to spotlight, but how great to bring this into your classroom. I will tell you that, first off, if I can just highlight some of the people in here just making comments. We see Linda Edwards from Canada joining in, and she has just been so amazing in our ARVR and EDU community, coming in, sharing and trying and testing and going back and bringing back with her students. Kim Murphy, holy moly, she is a powerhouse. She's actually close to where I live, within a couple hours here in Texas in the Dallas area. She's just amazing. She's like Alfonso, hey, let me throw out this idea. And then you guys are like, let me just show that up to times 10, So they're doing some crazy, awesome stuff. Denise Wright, oh my gosh, science. And I'll say again about David, these people in here, if you guys are in here joining this and watching, please connect with these people. They are phenomenal. Like, they know their stuff. They are consistent and just always going out there and sharing. And what you said, Alfonso, that I'd stop and talk to anybody, everybody else in this ARVR community is the same way. Like, all of them would just stop whatever they're doing to help support somebody in using this. So, and it's incredible. I did see Denise talk about mirroring and using it, Reflector app. I personally use Air Server quite a bit. And I will say that now with Zoom and with Google Hangouts, you can actually join in. I don't know if you guys have been doing this at all, but you can join in with your mobile device inside of that webinar or virtual meeting that they're having. And then as you join in with your mobile device, you can screen share. So it's like another Jamie sitting here as a third person here with us, being able to demo and share whatever I'm showing in AR or VR. Great way of implementing some of that in your classroom. And also, I will say, Alfonso, you mentioned doing the scavenger hunt a few weeks ago in the chat. And, that to me was something that I hope teachers would take right now. Like, could be done in anybody's living room, right? So I was sharing out a scavenger hunt for you guys to go do. And of course, for you to go back and create. But as you're doing it, you can see that any kid anywhere, should they have the right device, can do this. So I think what a lot of schools are running into right now is, getting those devices to our kids for the future, that they have access to those kinds of devices. That's definitely a huge need and interest, and certainly should be changing. And then just looking through the different comments, student motivation, absolutely, David. And definitely share your handles, because that's true. We definitely need to be connected to all these people. And John, no matter where you're at, whether it be Uganda or anywhere else, we connect with people across the world as well, that join in, and participate in the chat. Even if it's outside of their hour, they go to that hashtag on Twitter and they go and they still respond. I see it in the middle of the night. Sometimes I see it the next day, that they're still active participants, even if they're not there live for the chat because of the time being. But we hope you will also join us tomorrow. Tomorrow's our next chat, tomorrow evening.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, like you said, the community has always been great and very helpful. So it's very exciting. So, I mean, going back to, I know like you were talking about the book, you know, and you thought like, oh man, this is going to be outdated and so on. But, you know, the book is still going strong. I see a lot of people, you know, this last year at TCA and even the year before at TCA, you know, lining up, you know, because AR, the last 2 years I've been going to TCA, you know, it's a lot of AR, VR, and EDU. And it's just been great because each year it just keeps getting better and better. It just becomes more accessible now. And like you said, a lot of the companies are listening to what the teachers are needing. They realize what it is that they need to, you know, do the alignment, aligning the curriculum, things of that sort. But just tell us a little bit more. Do you have any projects that are coming up? Are you working on anything else? Any other books, things of that sort? What's going on in the world of Jamie Donnelly right now?
Oh my gosh, I can't keep up. It's so busy. I've been pulled in some other directions with Mary Alice Curran quite a bit, actually. And that is because there's been a huge need for remote learning and supporting in that area. So we've been supporting some authors, children's book authors, and doing a lot of live. I am working on the second book still, but it is really, I think it's going to be something worth really waiting for, because the goal of it is that we're not just throwing out a bunch of tools at our kids. We're not just saying, hey, I want to implement AR, VR, but we're really identifying who our kids are, what their needs are, and how to support them. So, it kind of takes it out of the context of just AR, VR, but really like looking at how can this be personalized specifically for our individual learners. So I can't emphasize that enough, because I still get so many questions as these general, what can I do for everybody? What's the first thing I need to implement? And that is just the absolute, opposite of what we should be doing. We don't need to implement anything until we know why we're implementing something. There has to be a goal there. There has to be some curriculum that we're focused on and emphasizing and needing to really reevaluate how we've been presenting the material. There has to be a reason why we want our kids creating. Just to create is not enough. What do you want them to create? What information are they displaying and demonstrating by creating? So really, I think that is the point of this next book. Don't just do AR, VR for the heck of it, really have a plan in place, identify your students, understand their specific needs. And then I also go into more of the accessibility aspect of it. So talking about like when our students are limited, it could be that they don't have arms. It could be our students are hearing impaired. It could be we have students that are visually impaired. So when we're running into how to support all of our learners, there are tools out there. There are resources out there. There are stories out there to share how people have really made a way for all of our students to have access and whatever capabilities that they have. So it's just incredible, because that's the fun part. We could tell about the million tools, but at the end of the day, until we really start driving home why we're doing what we're doing, I just feel like that's been the missing piece all along. I told the story of what is this? What is the foundation of this? Let's get started. Here's the terminology you need to be aware of. But at the end of the day, why we're using it, what we're using, and how to use it is really the biggest questions that should be answered and emphasized in the district. So I'm excited for this book to come out.
That's awesome. I did put in something for that book, so I don't know if you did receive it, but we'll see.
Yes.
I was going to say also,
actually, David put something in there. Linda put something in there. So there's been great responses, reactions, and I am so happy that your stories could be shared, across hopefully the world. And maybe one day it'll be written in Spanish. I don't know, Alfonso. That would be pretty awesome.
You know what? Hey, I know a guy that can translate in Spanish. But, I think that's the wonderful part, like you're saying, we also need to be intentional with, like you said, the use of AR, VR. And again, oftentimes sometimes I've seen where they just kind of introduce it and it's just real gimmicky, but then it just, that's it, that was done, but give me the next thing and so on. But I mean, you really have to be intentional and understanding that it is a tool to supplement the learning that's going in there. And so we have to always make sure that it's not only intentional, but also something that's sustainable too, not just a one-time use and then it's there in the corner and it's never used again and things of that sort. So that's definitely something that's very important. But yeah, so I mean, I also see that you are busy with doing webinars. Do you have any webinars coming up, or maybe you want to go ahead and share again on your page where people can come by and sign up for some of those webinars? That'd be great.
Yeah, right now more than ever, webinars are certainly more of an interest and need. I am working with districts, so instead of having me come to your campus and do PD at your school, I'm supporting them through really a creative, different way. But this technology lends itself quite well to remote learning. So when I'm sharing out with teachers to do this, I don't physically have to be there with you to show you how to do it. You see my screen, you see my face, I can describe stuff, I can see you, I can hear from you. Last week I told you I was going to share this. Last week we went through Mozilla Hubs. And I will tell you that in Mozilla Hubs that it is, I really think, actually, I'll show you right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll show you kind of what was covered, because I'm in the process of taking that Camtasia video, putting it in Camtasia and kind of making the change here. Oh, you know what? I have it in Camtasia. Give me one sec. But with that, I am just really loving the fact that this is a chance for us to connect virtually. And this is a topic people are still excited to learn from. So I'm going to go ahead and just screen share my whole desktop and show you what I'm pulling together and what I'm going to be sharing out with all of my subscribers here very soon. So here we are. So this was done as a recording on Zoom. And then inside of here, you can see that I went through and just kind of talked to people, but then I brought them right into Mozilla Hubs. And there are so many things. If you guys have not had a chance to check this out, so I really hope that you're subscribed at arvredu.com, because I will be sharing this video. But, on here, you'll see that we go into Hubs together, and there's 50-person limit, and we got 53 somehow, some way. There was like 53 at some point. You can see quite a 56. There we go. So you can see there's quite a bit of people actually joining in, conversations happening, people changing their names, creating their characters, taking selfies, drawing inside of VR, pulling in their own 3D content. They were creating 3D content, pulling it in, using emojis to describe emotions, taking video inside, also screen sharing inside so you can share out your presentation and have people join in. And then on top of it, I said, you know what? I brought you to my space, but now I'm going to bring you into a space that you can create on your own. And this is called Spoke, and Spoke works with Hubs. And so what they do is they let you bring in your own items that you either built yourself, or you could pull it in from Sketchfab or Google Poly, any of those places, tons of different content out there that you can pull in. And once you do, then you say, okay, I want to bring other people in here, and then it will populate the space there. So I went through in that webinar kind of showing, sorry, let me stop screen sharing here. But I did go through inside how to use it, what that looks like, and giving everybody a chance to play as well as create and follow along and do it themselves. So there's a lot of things done in that 1 hour. I certainly plan on doing another webinar. I've actually been contemplating on doing one next week. So we'll see, because, doing webinars is costly, but it's wonderful, because I think this is the way to stay connected and still learn and grow, and still have a chance to learn despite being limited by our space.
Right. And so where can they find, maybe upcoming webinars? If you do decide to go live, next week, where would they be able to find that information?
I really share everything to my subscribers. So if you're subscribed at arvredu.com, that's going to give you a chance to kind of hear, oop, this is coming out. Let me go ahead and register. This is new content. Oh, something's coming up, new event. Come check this out. So I did a webinar for Merge a couple weeks ago. Merge and I were working together to do the webinar, and we both shared out to our communities on social as well as through our subscribers. So, and then this Mozilla Hubs was incredible. Lots of people joining in, lots of activity. And that was just done personally through me on my own website, sharing out that way. Of course, Mozilla Helps was part of it, but not necessarily in the webinar. But there was, lots of great connections and content going out. But really, if you are a subscriber, you're going to get emails from me whenever anything like that is happening, or I'm local in your area and you want to connect. David actually is somebody, I went to a school in Florida for Global Maker Day. So I host this event every year, is virtual. It's been happening now. This is our 5th year. We're going on year 5. And we held it in Miami this past year at Nancy Pinchev's school in Miami. So unbelievable. She's been part of Global Maker Day every year. Her kids have been actively part of it. And she's now part of the organizing team for Global Maker Day. So we went down there and they said, hey, we want to have you come and do AR/VR beforehand. Let's share this out. So shared it out, to the community. Hey, I'll be here. So if you're interested, here's registration. Same thing for Denise was, South Carolina. She came and joined because David's in Miami and, Denise is in South Carolina. So she had, I had an event that I was doing with the local state museum. And they said, hey, we want to have you come out. Let's invite people. So invited anybody in the local area. She came out and participated that day. Actually, the first time we ever met face to face, which was crazy because I feel like I've known her forever. But, it's one of those things where, you hear about kind of some things happening. So I always share that with the subscribers so people are aware if they're interested in participating and getting connected. But certainly the webinars. But you know what? I will tell you, yes, you're right. That school is unbelievable. And David, I know he does, I've told him this, they have been trying to get him to come, but he has some good things ahead. Anyways, there's just some great opportunities to stay connected. And I know as you guys are doing things at conferences and events, I know you guys are great about sharing that out and letting people know as well. So, it's just great. Getting connected is primary, just building community, having support and knowing who to connect and collaborate with as you have victories and as you have struggles, and working together to help support all in between.
Excellent. Yeah. And it's always great to have that squad behind you. Like you said, you see your ups, you see your downs, but there's always a community there to help support you and just to push you through. And I think, like you said, it's been great. Like this last year, actually being able to meet Mary Alice and just that connection because of the AR, VR, and EDU community, and get to meet Mary Alice and just see just how passionate and how much zest of life she has. And she's just wonderful and just helping me out with digital citizenship and Dixit Connect and all of that is just something that is amazing. And then, of course, knowing Kim and everybody that was there that got to take a part in the what was it that on Friday when we all got together. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just amazing to just everybody there. And even though we only know each other from the chat, but it really feels like you've known each other forever because you finally meet face to face and it's like, hey, you're you and you're you, and hey, now we meet, and it's just something that's wonderful. So guys, teachers, anybody that's interested in AR, VR, go ahead and subscribe to Jamie's page. She has a wealth of resources. She updates continually. Follow her on Twitter as well. I, put the little message icon that anything she tweets out, you get an alert on, because it's definitely going to be something that's going to be worth watching. And also get involved in the Twitter chats. Like you said, if it's for your first time and maybe you don't want to participate and you just want to follow, but it's going to be a lot of fun because there's always going to be something hands-on that we're going to be doing, and it's going to be great. So again, I can't speak enough for the work that Jamie's doing, just herself as a human being, just being so supportive in all things. And, thank you, Jamie, for everything that you do for the AR, VR, and EDU community, and for people like myself, like David, like Linda and Denise, that you've just kind of just spark, give us that little spark, and we just kind of take off and roll with it. And it's just been wonderful, and it's such a joy to to get to know you. So thank you so much for being here tonight on our show. This is only our third episode, and I'm so excited that you agreed to be here. It really means a lot, and I'm honored as always. And seriously, it's like, I'm like, like a fanboy, kind of like, hey, I got my book. I got my book signed and
I'm going to be
everything.
like, if you guys make it on Alfonso's show, like, you will feel like the biggest rock star ever, because this is wonderful. I mean, you know your stuff, and just to see you have all this together, I cannot wait to see what happens with your show here in the coming years. And I know it will continue to grow. And I just love that you have really spotlighted a chance to get the content out to the people. So thank you for bringing everybody together and creating this great, amazing opportunity for us to be able to share.
Yep. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. And again, that's the goal, pretty much. It is the goal to just be able to spotlight educators and not just you are my friend, but bring people that know their stuff, like you said, and just share it with the world, because it's just an additional platform. And it just helps us as educators just be on top of what's new, what's going on, what directions is education going to take? What are some of the trends? Is this something that's going to be sustainable? Future of work, future of education, things of that sort. So it's always great. And I'm definitely extending an invite out to all my other fellow AR, VR, and EDU community members to reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to share. And it doesn't have to be on AR, VR. It could be some of the other STEM projects that you may have available, because we do have some extremely talented people, not only in this community, but in communities all around. So Jamie, again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. To all our followers, listeners, anybody who's watching, thank you for joining us here tonight on My EdTech Life. This is our third show. The show will be on YouTube, and the podcast will be coming out shortly as well. And I'll be sharing that wakelet with all that information, with all the show info for tonight and previous shows as well. So if you like the content, subscribe to the channel there, and follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at TechTeacher1381, and even on LinkedIn, Alfonso Mendoza. Follow us anywhere, and I will definitely share a lot of great content. And we have content from wonderful people such as Jamie and many others. So thank you very much, guys. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful night. Y'all be safe and take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Take